right? It is now the Carl Jackson Show again. In order to bring some type of continuity between my Salem radio show and the podcast, we're now calling everything, branding everything as the Carl Jackson Show. So thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for watching us. And here's what we're going to talk about today. There's a story out of Chicago. You guys have heard about it. Obviously, there's these cop shootings that the media really wants to put on the forefront because they want you to believe that all cops are bad and they're out hunting down black people and quote unquote people of color. I hate the term people of color because the left is trying to group everyone together, put everyone in a singular box and make us all a communist country. So I just reject that. So the latest story that actually happened weeks ago is this story that took place in Chicago. I believe it was on Chicago's west side, if I'm not mistaken. But there was a white cop. Obviously, I hate saying that, but it was a white cop by the name of Eric Stillman. And that's the only reason this video is coming out to the forefront, if you will, because
you're allowed to say white cop only, but you're allowed to mention race when it is.
Yeah, so you can
officer. If it's anything else, then you just say police officer.
If it wasn't a black cop, this wouldn't be a story. I mean, it's sad, but it's as simple as that. And honestly, I think there would be even more pressure to destroy this cop even more quickly if the suspect that was killed was black. But luckily for him, the suspect was Latino. He doesn't rate as high on the intersectionality chart. So this guy may actually have a chance of surviving this, not to mention there's video and people are starting to fight back. But what we're seeing is what the media wants us to see. And this is exactly what they've been doing everywhere. I don't care if you're talking about the Capitol peaceful protests on January 6th. You can see what's happening with Project Veritas. All of this stuff is tied in together. Those subjects I'll talk about on another day. But let's get to this situation with Eric Stillman, who is the Chicago police officer who shot and killed, that's right, Lil Homicide. So let's, AKA Adam Toledo is the name of the 13-year-old kid. So let's go ahead and read the summary. This from heavy.com. Eric Stillman is named in police reports as a Chicago police officer who shot and killed 13-year-old Lil Homicide. Adam Toledo. The Chicago Civilian Office of Police Accountability on April 15, 2021, released graphic police body cam videos that show Stillman shooting Lil Homicide. Adam Toledo. Stillman's name is contained in voluminous reports released in the interest of transparency. Let me pause here real quick because I really hate this. I really don't believe that police officers across America can get a fair trial anywhere when cases like this. I'm not sure whether or not this case will go to court, but here's the bottom line. Police officers, let me warn you now, if you live in a blue city, move, resign, get a desk job, because these mayors, these commissioners, these, state's attorneys, none of them are district attorneys, whatever they are. None of them are going to back you. This Black Lives Matter, the left wing media, they have all gotten, they're going to turn against the cops. They're against you. You don't have to worry about defunding the police like Rashida Tlaib and some of these leftists ask about, because you're demoralizing the police. So no one is going to want to be a cop. And honestly, I think that is intentional. So cops, let me warn you, if you live in a blue city, more than likely your mayor, they're not going to back you. I would suggest you get a job elsewhere, unless the only caveat would be that you live in a predominantly red state. So, for instance, if you're in the state of Florida, where I live, you may be safe because we have a governor in Ron DeSantis. We have enough red pockets where you might survive. But if you're in Chicago, Illinois, you're not going to survive. If you're in Minnesota, you're not going to Minneapolis, Minnesota. You're not going to survive. Brooklyn Center, where they're throwing Kim Potter under the bus, you're not going to survive. So keep that stuff in mind. So now, like I said, going back to the column, Stillman's name is contained in all types of reports that are released in the interest of transparency. I don't feel like a cop's name should be released unless the situation is so dire where it's absolutely necessary. I don't feel like this is one of those cases. The release of the video is obviously already causing all of this controversy online, which, in my opinion, is another tactic the left uses to destroy police and the whole concept of defunding the police. Who can get a fair trial? You don't, even before things go to trial, you can't even defend yourself. If they're going to do this, cops should come out right away and defend themselves and say this and this, A, B, and C, A, B, C, and D were happening. But the media is telling us the story that they want us to hear because the media is left. So it is up to us to look into these things and bring sense to them and bring light to them. There's also a gun was recovered at the scene where Officer Stillman shot Adam Toledo near a fence. And it appears from the video, supposedly, that Lil Homicide tossed his weapon. However, when you go back and you look at the still frame video, you can see that Lil Homicide, 13-year-old Lil Homicide, aka Adam Toledo, had the pistol on his side when he turned initially. Did he toss it? Maybe. Did it fly away when he was Officer Stillman justifiably, in my opinion, shot him in the chest? Completely possible. But here's the bottom line. There were two people on the scene that day. There was a 21-year-old whose name I can't find right now, who were targeting. So first, let me say this. Police officers were responding to a call of shots fired. So Lil Homicide and a 21-year-old man that he was with were the suspects from that call. They responded to the shots fired call. They arrive on the scene. They're able to take down the 21-year-old, whose name is somewhere in this report, and I know where it is. They take down the 21-year-old. He complies, lays down on the ground. They cuff him. He's okay. Lil Homicide bolts. He runs. Adam Toledo, he runs. Officer Stillman chases him, tells him to drop his weapon. Lil Homicide, that entire time they're running, and you can go onto different places and you can see the video, and some places show it from different angles. That entire time that they're running through this, what appears to be an alleyway of sorts, Lil Homicide never drops his weapon. So it is only when he gets to this opening within this fence that he finally turns, and many believe, the only picture they show is Lil Homicide with hands up, don't shoot type thing going on, right? When in actuality, Lil Homicide, that was all split second. Lil Homicide either got shot, Lil Homicide maybe dropped his gun, but this is all split second. And what I hate about this online stuff and this video stuff is every one of us automatically become experts and a saint when we're not in a situation, and we don't understand how quickly things can happen. So, for example, Lil Homicide, he's running. The officer is saying, drop your effing weapon the entire time. Lil Homicide doesn't drop the weapon. He finally gets to this opening in the fence. He turns quickly. The cop, never seeing him drop the weapon while they're doing a freaking 100-yard dash, is all of a sudden in a millisecond faced with this kid that never dropped his weapon the whole time he was running, turning around really quickly. The officer has that quick. I don't know if you can hear my snap but the officer has that quick to respond. It amazes me at all of the hundreds of millions of experts that are millions of experts, whatever, I'm being exaggerative here, but all of the experts that can put themselves in that situation without the fear, without the adrenaline flowing, without context, and pretend as though they would act different regardless of their race. It just makes absolutely no sense. But this is what we do time and time again, because this is what the media wants us to do. This is the way they report these things. They come out and they destroy the cops. They put them in a situation where everyone goes out and believes, oh, yeah, the cop should have acted differently. The cop could have acted differently. Or this is racism, racism, racism. When the fact of the matter is, when you're in a situation where it's always a life and death situation with the cop. It always is. Why? Because a cop always brings a gun to the fight, whether it's maybe it's not a fight, maybe it's peaceful, or it's going to be a fight potentially. It's always a potentially life-threatening situation when a cop arrives because a cop has a gun, and more than likely he or she is dealing with a criminal, right? I mean, this is what we have to keep in mind. Context, context, context. So it says here the cops were responding to a shots fired. Shots fired call. The officers had responded to a shots fired call when the foot chase ignited, according to Block Club Chicago. Another video shows Toledo with, here's the name of the guy, with Ruben Roman, who's 21 years old, who is accused of firing shots at a, quote, target that is out of view. Shortly thereafter, the officer starts chasing Little Homicide, also known as Toledo, and that was approximately 2:37 a.m. So here you have a Little Homicide. Gorgeous name, really cute name.
What was your nickname when you were 13?
I don't know, Little Devil. No, actually, at one point, Little Boy Blue. And yes, and seriously speaking, actually, 2:37 a.m. So 13-year-old Little Homicide is out at 2:37 a.m. Why the heck is 13-year-old Little Homicide out at 2:37 a.m.? Is this a situation of bad parenting? Maybe. Is this a situation where Little Homicide snuck out of his house? Maybe. Is this a situation where Little Homicide should have been sleeping and getting ready for school, but since Chicago teachers unions and Mayor Lightfoot are pretty whack and horrible leaders, instead of being home and in bed sleeping to get prepared for school, he was out doing crime? Maybe. There's a lot of things that we can take from this case and we can pick at, but to the best of my ability, I'm going to stick to the facts at hand. So Ruben Roman, 21, was accused of shots firing. Think of this: 21-year-old and a 13-year-old out at 2-something in the morning, apparently both of them with weapons, or at least with one weapon. I'm not sure if there were two weapons on the scene. I'm not sure if Little Homicide took the gun from Ruben Roman and decided to run with it. I am not clear on that. But we do know that these were the suspects that were involved shooting at people that's out of view of the camera. Now, the mayor and the family have all pleaded for calm, but we'll see if that makes a difference. I don't think it'll be as bad, simply because Little Homicide is in black. Even though he is a minority, he is in black. And so since he is in black, I don't think the narrative works as well for the left. Here's what you should know about Eric Stillman, who is the police officer involved in the shooting. He served in the military with honorable commendations. He's also had some complaints as a cop. He joined the Chicago Police Department in 2015. So he's been on the job for 6 years or thereabout. So he's 34 years old. Here are some of the complaints. Actually, he had 3 complaints and 4 use of force reports. Let me just go through those really quickly because it's always funny to me. Sometimes these complaints are legitimate, sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just Bob or Jaquan really upset that they got pulled over, and so they want to offer a complaint. And sometimes it's legitimate. In this case, one of the complaints was, the first one was, the complaint alleges that Officer Stillman illegally stopped and searched a person during a traffic stop. The complainant alleged that he did not give officers permission to search his vehicle. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. The complaint noted that accused officers claimed that the stop was due to obstruction of view. And the complainant had a cell phone mount on his windshield. The complainant also alleges that one of the officers was verbally aggressive and rude, which honestly, you can get officers that are pricks, but just know what they're dealing with, and just understand the situation, right? Here's what you have to know. I talked about this on my show earlier in the week, but here's what you have to know. Cops have to always be on high alert. They're always going to be on edge because again, oftentimes they're responding to a call, or they're it could be a routine traffic stop, but a lot of those routine traffic stops could turn deadly, as we've seen in recent weeks and months. Um, I mean, cops can go from a simple traffic stop to, oh crap, I got to fight for my life in a nanosecond. And that's why I'm like, the way that we put these things on television and online, and we have all this social media, these cops are just, I don't even see how any cop survives any type of court situation ever, because between social media and the way that we prejudge these cases before these guys even get into a courtroom, I think the vast majority of people have already made up their minds, and the jury pool is already tainted. It's, it's kind of worthless. But these complaints are, I mean, it's really nothing much. Another complaint says the accused officer, which would be Eric Stillman, allegedly unlawfully searched the RPs. I'm not sure what RP means. Vehicle during a traffic stop. The accused allegedly removed a small razor that the RP had inside his vehicle, and that one was closed and no finding. So apparently the guy had a razor blade of sorts, but he complained again, that the cops searched the car unlawfully. But here's the thing: if the cops have a reasonable what's the term that I'm looking for, guys? I'm sitting in the studio with Tony Maestro and J Dog. Reasonable suspicion, I believe, is what it is. Probable cause, reasonable suspicion to search. I believe I can do that. If someone is listening online and you want to correct me of that, please feel free to do so. There are also some use of force reports. I'll be honest with you guys. There's only 4 use of force complaints. I'm surprised that cops don't get use of force complaints like several a month. This guy has 4 in several years. One was a takedown emergency where he had to handcuff someone. That occurred in December of 2017. Another occurred 1 year later, almost to the, One occurred 1 year later, and that was a wrist lock takedown, which was an emergency handcuffing, and open hand strike. So I don't know, so somehow there was a pimp slap in that. And then the third one was another wrist lock takedown. This one was 2 months after the second incident, and another emergency handcuffing with open hand strike and escort holds. I don't know what that means. Maybe officers had to put them into a patio. I don't know what that means. And then the fourth and final one says no member action listed. So I don't even know why it would be listed as for reports on use of force when the fourth one isn't even listed. But Stillman had received a major award and 8 honorable mentions. The records show. So it seems as though he was a good cop. He definitely was a good soldier. He received a military service award and a superintendent's award of valor. And Stillman, this is what you have to keep in mind. Stillman has worked in some of Chicago's toughest neighborhoods during his tenure. This is one of those things where you really have to understand. You really have to understand the hood and what people go through daily. And you guys, we hear that the media tries to avoid reporting them, but just think about the numbers that we hear consistently in Chicago, where tens of people, it seems like, are either shot or murdered weekly in Chicago. These are the types of streets that this particular gentleman patrolled. And so he's going to see lots of violence, so on, et cetera. And he's going to have to respond and act accordingly to that. I know that everyone that cops take down, people want to act and pretend as if they're a little angel. It's amazing to me. You get these thugs that end up getting shot and killed by cops. And then all of a sudden, I mean, these guys were pastors. They were on their way to heaven. They were the nicest people, saints of saints. And then you go find out some information, and they got a criminal history 2 miles long. But it's because the media, instead of just informing us, they want to create a narrative. And sadly, that's the world that we're living in today. And that's what should concern us about media, whether it's what's happening with Project Veritas and James O'Keefe, Project Veritas. And I'll make sure I won't get off topic here too long here, but I do believe all of this is connected. And it's all because of the media is out to give us the narrative they want us to believe rather than report the truth. You know, with Project Veritas and CNN, James O'Keefe exposing CNN for the frauds they are. And he's kicked off of Twitter permanently when it was the CNN director just straight up admitting that CNN was misreporting on Asian crime, white on Asian crime, and so on, et cetera, because they wanted to help out BLM, amongst other things they were doing. Just really bringing in doctors to speculate on COVID-19 just so Trump could lose. This is the media that we're dealing with. Whether we're talking about the peaceful protests, mostly peaceful protests on January 6th at the Capitol, whether we're talking about CNN, Project Veritas, James O'Keefe, or whether we're talking about these shootings with cops. Just more to know about this Stillman officer. He was born in America Samoa, and let's see. Yeah, he's white, but he was born in America Samoa. So I'm not. Anyway, he was born in America Samoa. So the videos are causing a firestorm online, and here's what it is. And again, you have to go back and watch the video. And then even watching the video, you can easily, your thinking could easily be distorted because you have to remember, I'm not there. My adrenaline isn't going. It's not in the middle of the freaking night. And so it's easy to watch the video and say, oh, I think I would have done A, B, C, and D. I can assure you, as a person that's been involved with two violent crimes in my life as a victim, these are some of the things you can't Monday morning quarterback, and it just amazes me how frequently this happens. So the video appears to show Toledo dropping or otherwise getting rid of a gun and raising his hands when he was shot. Police said previously that they recovered a 9mm Ruger along a fence near the shooting, and they released a photo of it. So here you have Little Homicide, cute name. Little Homicide, Adam Toledo, has a 9mm Ruger at the age of 13. This isn't uncommon in the hood. I hate to see it. I say it. I mean, I had a gun in my hand at a younger age than that. And, my boys had guns, and where they would get them, I don't know. But whether it was a pellet gun, a 22, a 25, all of these guns I held in my hand before the age of 10. Because I was surrounded by gangs and people that were into stuff. So, and they were illegal weapons. So those are the real ghost guns, because I guarantee you, hindsight 2020, I guarantee you the serial numbers were crossed out or scratched off of all those guns. And they were in the street, and some of them were in my hands before the age of 10. And so the video starts with the foot chase of Stillman yelling, "Hey, show me your effing hands, drop it." So again, when you go back and watch the video, he's chasing Little Homicide down this alleyway, what appears to be an alleyway. Little Homicide doesn't follow verbal directions. And yeah, there's a reason. Let me just say this real quickly. There's a reason why I'm calling Little Homicide Little Homicide. I didn't know about this until last night. And then J-Dog confirmed it. Like, little, the guy's name is Little Homicide. Listen, you grow up in the hood, people get nicknames oftentimes based upon what they do, or sometimes there's it's cool names based upon characteristics. Like there was a guy that I knew in a gang. His name was Silent. And his name was Silent because he never talked. Every once in a while, he would smile or laugh. He was just stone faced, but he was well known to be. If you mess with him, you were gonna get jacked up. You know what I'm saying? That's it's just the way it is. So again, this cop is running, giving verbal directions. Little Homicide fled the scene, and then the cop ended up having to shoot the kid because the kid turns around so quickly. Remember, I mean, split second. People think, yeah, you know what? I would do A, B, C, D. No, you only have that quick to think. I mean, split second. This is what I hate about online videos and all of these people pining over a video because you don't know what you're talking about. It's really frustrating. It's really frustrating to me. So anyway, the kid gets shot. He shoots the kid. I mean, I guess it was a perfect shot right in the chest, and the kid drops and raises his hands just before, or he drops the gun supposedly and raises his hands, but it all happened so quickly. So I'm not even convinced watching the video that the kid dropped the gun because he
Was it body cam video?
dropped the gun. It is body cam.
Yeah,
It is body cam video. But I'm not sure if the kid dropped the gun because he was shot or if he you know what I mean? It happened so quickly. But regardless, the kid had a gun in his hands. He disobeyed orders forever. If you're going to throw a gun, you know what you do while you're running? You know, you'll see this all the time. You just got to watch Cops enough, right? You see this all the time where criminals are running and they throw something, and they don't want to be caught with it on them. Right. But Little Homicide held on to the gun until he decided maybe either to turn around and shoot or maybe to hold his hands up. The problem was his timing. Regardless, so this is inconclusive. We don't know. I would have shot Little Homicide. I feel like this is totally reasonable. This is totally justified. And I'm not saying it just to be hyperbolic. And it's not that I always want to side with cops, but sometimes this stuff is just so clear cut to me. It's frustrating that other people don't see it the way that I do. But I can understand some of you might feel the same. But here's another thing, you know, the media they always want to frame the narrative as white cops are out just hunting down black people or people of color. But this video, I don't mean to sound morbid, but I'm glad they show the aftermath of the shooting, because what you see is Eric Stillman clearly distraught that he had to shoot a 13-year-old boy, that was in the streets trying to be a man and trying to be, be a thug and obviously a criminal. But nobody wants to shoot a 13-year-old kid because, and obviously I haven't shot a 13-year-old kid, but I'm guessing what the cop realizes at that moment is, one, I wish I hadn't done it. And two, they're going to have to tell the parent, whatever. And then what would this kid have amounted to if he weren't in the street? If he were in school, nobody wants to take anyone's life unless you're just a sick, depraved murderer. But I'm glad they got to show a piece of the video where the cop was obviously distraught. I mean, he was lost for words. It even sounds like, and I can't, you guys will have to watch the video and verify this, but it even sounds like to me, he was crying. I could be totally wrong on this, but I thought for sure as he was walking away, he kept his back turned. He walked away from the other cops. It sounded to me as if he was crying. I could have totally misheard that. So you guys are going to have to check out the video for yourselves. But beyond that, how do you know he didn't want to kill this kid? He sits there and performs CPR on the kid. He's trying to, immediately after he shoots him, he's trying to save Little Homicide. That just lets you know how quickly these decisions have to be made. Oh crap, I got to shoot him to defend my life. Oh crap, I don't want him to die. I was only shooting him to defend my life, but I don't want him to die. So I'm going to try to save his life.
Yeah, if you're out there hunting people, you don't shoot somebody and then immediately try to save them.
Yeah, you're like, another one down. That's not his attitude. Come on, but this is what the media wants us to believe. And then, of course, Mayor Lightweight chimes in. Here's what Mayor Lightweight had to say. Mayor Lightweight, I got to think of another name besides Lightweight because everybody uses Lightweight. I like to be original. I got to think of something else. I'll get back to you on that. Or if you guys want to send your titles, don't be overwhelmingly nasty, but feel free to go to Carl Jackson Radio, Carl Jackson Radio on Facebook and share what you'd like to call Lightweight. No cuss words, please.
Keep it clean.
Keep it clean. But use the word light. If you can, I will say your name and I will credit you every time I use it. If you guys think of a better name than me. All right. So here's what Mayor Lightweight says. She held a news conference about the video release and she pled for calm. Okay, that sounds nice and good, right? Well, here's what Mayor Lightweight said. Look, I don't want to get into the real substance of this. So far, so good. Because the independent investigation is going on. So far, so good. But, here it comes. I've seen no evidence whatsoever that Adam Toledo, a.k.a. Little Homicide, that's me, not her, Adam Toledo shot at the police. So she says she sees no evidence that Little Homicide shot at the police.
That means she sees no evidence that he didn't shoot at the police either.
That is a very,
or that he did,
that is a very good take, but it's also indicative of how clueless this lady is. You don't wait to get shot at when you're a cop. This is the dumbest thing ever.
It kind of reminds me. I don't know if you saw the exchange on Hannity between Geraldo Rivera and
Bongino.
And Bongino.
No, I only heard about it.
So, but it's and I understand like where Geraldo is coming from, saying that with the whole shooting of the other
Dante Wright.
Yeah, Dante Wright. Where it was she thought she grabbed her taser.
Yeah.
And his thing was, well, why do the cops have the taser on their non-dominant hand or and not their gun? The taser should be on their should be on their dominant side, so that's what they grab for first.
Oh, that's the dumbest thing ever.
And I could see if you've never been a cop or just being an outsider, thinking that makes sense, but it makes no sense at all when you think about self-defense. When you think about protecting, what is your job?
When you think about the criminal mindset,
Now, if they know that they're going to reach for a taser or they got,
no doubt.
But it's things like that, as an outsider, as this mayor, they don't have to, put on the badge and the gun and go out there every day and hope to come home every night.
And experience that level of fear and where you're constantly on high alert. She gets to be protected by bodyguards. Her house, I don't know if this still is. As a matter of fact, she had cops out in front of her house watching her house. So it's really easy to talk like this when you have people that sit and protect you and that are paid to protect you. But this is split-second decision stuff. People don't get that split-second decision. Anyone that says this wouldn't, they would react differently. I would challenge. Well, I would ask you to challenge them. Maybe get a can, like a can of beans or something like that, and just literally go right in their face with the can and say, "Okay, I want you to not react to this. This isn't a gun. This isn't a bullet. That'll kill you. This is a can." And just do like that and see how they react. People are hypocrites when it comes to this stuff. I don't even necessarily agree with cops after being a victim if they've never been forced to. The vast majority of cops don't even have to pull their weapons. I'm sorry, but when you're in the hood where this is normative, come on, man, you got to give these cops some grace because you don't know what they're dealing with. They're dealing with killers out there. They may be young, they may be 13-year-olds like Adam Toledo, but Adam Toledo's nickname was Little Homicide for a reason. You are dealing with killers. You're dealing with people that have a disregard for life. And maybe it's because of bad parenting. Maybe it's because, and I said this myself. I was talking to J-Dog before the show. I grew up in a decent home where my parents, even though I didn't have the closest relationship with my dad, but my parents We attended church every Saturday. We were at a different church at the time. I had my sister and my brothers, and so from the outside, everything seemed, hunky dory. But when I left my home, the community that I lived in and the people that I lived around, you were either going to be a nerd or a gangster, and there were very few nerds where I grew up, or you fit somewhere in between. Maybe it was athletics or something like that. I played a lot of different sports when I was younger, but you were always a part of the street in some way, shape, or form. You had to figure out how to navigate the streets, and sometimes you get involved in stuff you would never want to. I didn't have the personality necessarily to be a hardcore gangster, but I dabbled in gang life. I dabbled with tagging because that was the environment. I can remember walking back, just to give you guys an example of how different life could be in the hood, something that you may not necessarily understand or recognize is so going to junior high, I would have to walk through, and coming back from junior high, I would have to walk through different gang territories, right? And so walking through those territories, I was always on high alert because I knew I was going to have to walk through Young Crowd's hood. I knew I was going to have to walk through neighborhood Crip gang hood. I knew I was going to have to walk through Pendleton Ave, Pendleton Ave Crip hood. I knew that Fruittown Piru was behind you know what I'm saying? So you had to navigate this. And one of the things like neighborhood Crips, Young Crowd, which was a Mexican gang, neighborhood Crips, predominantly black, they killed each other a lot. and these were the territories that I had to walk through. So you got to learn to survive. Sometimes you have to befriend gangsters so you feel safe. And then because you do that, you end up doing things you didn't think you would do or don't necessarily want to do. Sometimes they're real cool with you and like, oh, nah, man, he's cool. He just does this. He just, my thing was, hey, guys, I play ball. Hey, guys, I'm trying to do. And that was my way of trying to get away from gangs. But sometimes you couldn't avoid it. I always had friends that were heavily in gangs because it was just where I grew up. And that's just what I knew. All of this stuff made sense to me. We were talking about before the podcast started, J-Dog, how stupid it seems to die for the color of the crayon when you're in the hood, red or blue or whatever, or territory or whatever. But when you grow up in it and that's all you know, it just seems normal. It wasn't until I moved to Florida where it was like, okay, that was weird. That's crazy. People are dying for the color of a crayon. But it took me being removed or leaving that environment for my mind to be able to look back and just be like, wow, that's crazy. That's so stupid. That's so silly. And that's what we think on the outside. But when you're on the inside, it's a war zone. It's crazy. And this is what these cops, this is why I give cops more grace than I think a lot of people will, because those cops may be coming from the suburbs where everything is cool, calm, collective. And then they go into a war zone where all they see is the worst of the worst. And so their mind has to change. It's crazy. So that's why I give them a little more grace sometimes. So it's a split second decision there. Toledo's family, Adam Toledo, the 13-year-old, or Little Homicide, aka Little Homicide, issued a joint statement with the mayor asking people to respond peacefully to the videos. And they say here, yesterday, the city of Chicago's Corporation Counsel, Celia Mesa, met with Adina Weiss Ortiz and Joel Hirshorn, legal representatives for the Toledo family. The statement read, quote, based on the Civilian Office of Police Accountability's announcement that it will be releasing the videos, both parties agree that all material should be released, including a slowed down compilation of the events of March 29 that resulted in the tragic death of 13-year-old Adam Toledo. The only thing that I would say is it was a necessary death. I'm sorry, you're not out at 2-something in the morning running from the cops with a 9mm in your hand, and you refuse to throw the weapon until you get to an opening in a fence where you make a sudden turn, and of course the cop is going to have to shoot you. A prosecutor also initially said that Toledo had a gun in his hand, but the office has now flipped the script. This is what frustrates me, because I guarantee you that office saw the steel frame where when Lil Homicide first turned around, he had the gun in his hand. So he may have dropped it quickly, or he may have right in the middle of the cop turning and shooting. He may have been in the process, so that all they want you to see is this. But how quickly, when you watch the still frame, is the gun in his hand, did he get to this? Was it drop? Boom? You know what I mean? So a cop has that quick that, oh, snap, I see a gun. Shoot. Or what is he going to do? Oh, snap, I see a gun. I'm going to wait and see if he fires bullets directly at me before I decide. Come on, let's not be stupid. Let's not be stupid. Lil Homicide, it's sad. A 13-year-old kid that had his entire life in front of him. But we don't know how many lives Lil Homicide may or may not have taken. We don't know how much more damage Lil Homicide may have done. We don't know that Lil Homicide would have survived the next 6 months or a year if he was on the streets of Chicago acting like this, giving the alarming rates of homicide that we see in the streets of Chicago. So I would say, in conclusion, that I would have reacted the same way as Eric Stillman. A Lil Homicide, were I in Eric Stillman's shoes, based upon the information that I've read and based upon the videos that I've seen, Eric Stillman made the right call. It's sad, and he's torn because of it, but he made the right call.
Carl, can we look at this a little differently too? I mean, the media and these Black Lives Matter and Antifa, riot, all that, the whole movement of defund the police and everything. Shouldn't that be responsible for this as well in some aspects? If you think about
this guy's trying to steal my column.
But if you think about what is going on, you've got African Americans that are on edge every time, or anyone of color are on edge anytime they encounter a police officer. And instead of saying, what did you said it the other just before we started, J-Dog, about like comply
and you won't die.
Comply and you won't die. And like that's, shouldn't the media be spouting that? And shouldn't like even the police department, stuff like that, have be out there? You see, click it or ticket. You see all these these different slogans going on. So as a public safety factor.
Speaking of public safety,
and then you see like when I watched that video of the the incident where she thought she had a taser,
Dante Wright.
When I saw that, I'm just thinking, this guy is trying to get away, from the police. He's trying to do this and hopes to save it, and he thinks that is going to save his life by getting away, by trying to resist arrest and all that when he has a warrant and everything. I could never, that mentality behind that, I've been pulled over. I've been arrested, I've had that in my past. I'm not proud about it, but I never like felt that I could die. I never thought of not listening to the police officer, when I'm, and even to the point where, when I'm pulled over, I'm always thinking, I want to make sure that they know that I'm not, I'll take my, keep your hands on the steering wheel,
right?
Take the keys out of the car, because then that's going to relax them a little bit too. If they see that, and you have your license, everything in your hand, things like that. Like that's what we should be, teaching in the schools. That's what the media should be.
This is, let me say this real quickly. This is a Carl Jackson, a public service announcement. This is proof positive that Tony Matos doesn't listen to my show during the week.
Don't listen to it.
Because
honestly, this was
my show Wednesday night. As a matter of fact, I'm working on a column where I do blame Black Lives Matter and I blame corporate media. I'm your biggest fan. And I so I blame Black Lives Matter and I blame corporate media for a lot of these deaths because and Black parents. I've begun asking the question basically. Where did the good Black parents go? And obviously I'm being exaggerative. I know plenty of good Black parents. So let me just put that out there. But there are a lot of parents in the hood that'll raise these bad behind kids. And then when they get into crime, they come out and they want to pretend and they get shot by a cop or something, they want to pretend like they're a little angel. When the truth of the matter is, when you're pulled over by a cop, all you do is comply. It doesn't matter if the cop is a jerk. It doesn't matter. You put your hands on the wheel, 10 and a 2, you listen, you obey. Even if the cop is a complete jerk, the way society is right now, cops don't want to have to shoot people. As a matter of fact, there's a study from the Harvard economist Roland Fryer, where he did an in-depth study, and it shows that cops that are white shoot people less than cops that are Latino or black. They're just more hands off because they know they will be vilified. So this stuff is happening. But I do believe that they don't make black parents like they used to. I do believe that Black Lives Matter, and I do believe that corporate media are purposely inciting this nonsense because this is what they want. They want to see chaos so they can usher in their policies. They keep black people mad, and so black people are distracted from the fact that these people are trying to usher in socialism, totally destroy America and totally destroy our society. And the left is using Democrats or blacks as useful idiots, as they're using the gay community, as they're using transgenders, whomever they can use. And now they're like, let's just use all the people of color. That's why I don't like using their terms, because I know what they're trying to do. And so we have to be mindful of this stuff. But yeah, I do believe, as Tony said, that Black Lives Matter and corporate media have a huge part and are largely responsible in perpetuating this narrative that cops are out to hunt down minorities and blacks and kill them. So instead of blacks just sitting there and complying, young blacks are saying, hey, run, run, run. The same thing, parents that buy into this nonsense and don't do your research, you should be telling your kids, hey, if a cop comes, I don't care. I want you to live. You shut your mouth until the cop speaks to you. You speak politely. You live to fight another day. I don't care if you get arrested and go to jail. I will come and bail you out, and we can figure it out with an attorney. But at least I won't have to put you in a casket and put you in the ground. This is really simple. The left doesn't want us to solve this problem. But anyway, do we have any questions, comments, or concerns here?
I was just going to say, what if we made up our own Black Lives Matter t-shirts for the Carl Jackson Show to say comply and you won't die?
Okay, so
I think that would be
that. I do believe that is a pretty good one. Let me share this one real quick, because obviously, being that it is the Carl Jackson Show, I like sounding like the brilliant one. And so I thought of this idea. What if we created one that says, hands up, they won't shoot?
Yeah.
Okay. See, they just confirmed
we have two shirt ideas. Maybe we should have people comment which one they like best.
All right. Two shirt ideas. Comply, you won't die. That is a simple one. But that one's not original. Oh, so all right. So I think that one's not original. J-Dog stole that one.
You know what? We're trademarking that right now. TM right now.
All right.
It's ours.
So a vote. Comply, they won't die for a t-shirt. Yeah, but I think that one's probably out there. Hands up, don't shoot, or hands up, won't shoot, or hands up, they won't shoot. And let's get a poll online. Let's see what you guys think. T-shirt, comply, you won't die, or t-shirt, hands up. What do you guys like? Hands up, don't shoot, or hands up, they won't shoot? I think they kind of hands up, they won't shoot, right? Because you're kind of pointing. All right, so hands up, they won't shoot, or comply, you won't die. But I do think this is something that we need to start really pushing out into the atmosphere, if you will. Anyway, any questions, comments, or concerns so we can wrap this up?
Do you have comments, Tony?
I'm good.
Okay, so let me just share this real quickly before we check out. I am trying to grow the show. We are trying to grow this podcast. Anything that you can do to help out, I'd appreciate if you go on carljacksonshow.com, donate. Also, it's a big help to my sponsors. If you help them out, one is Firm Foundation Home Inspections, particularly if you live in the Central Florida area, or if you're moving to Central Florida and you need to get a home inspection, wind mitigation inspection, whatever it may be. If it's for insurance purposes, make sure you call my friend Aubrey Kahn at 321-624-0254. That's Firm Foundation Home Inspection. You can go online to orlandoshomeinspector.com, orlandoshomeinspector.com, with an S. Also, or give them a call, 321-624-0254. Also, if you need a real estate agent, you're moving into the Central Florida area, you want to get away from these blue cities, be sure to call my real estate agent, Elisa Edwards of Watson Realty, 321-356-3616. She's going to get you the absolute best deal possible. If you're moving into a home or if you're looking to sell your home, she's going to get you top dollar, let you know whatever you can do, stage the home, whatever it may be, to make sure you get top dollar for that. If you need to rent, if you need property management, she is a relocation specialist as well. So that's Elisa Edwards of Watson Realty. Give her a call, 321-356-3616.
And I'd like to say another way that you could help us out is just, like and share this podcast.
Exactly right.
Tell your friends, please, about it. Go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to that as well. And just, if you can't donate, pray for us, and just share as much as you can.
Please
tell your friends about us.
Please do that.
Get them to listen in.
Our growth is being stunted. I'm honestly, a peon, and our growth is being stunted like no one's business.
Right.
On Facebook, Twitter. The only thing that helps it is if you guys like and share it. So it's no longer enough just to like it.
And if you have any liberal friends, that want to, we would love to get
we
some
don't mind if
questions from.
Tony is hated.
I like to be loved, but Tony can be the black sheep.
Yeah, listen, I just try to shoot straight and tell it like it is. Somebody called me a liar this week that really upset me. And listen, I'm not out to lie to you. I'm out to give you the truth as I see it, and as evidence presents itself. If you disagree with me, I have no problem with that. I will fight for your right as an American to disagree with me. So I don't mind that.
All right, and we have a
Also,
T-shirt comment too.
Go ahead, do your
Sorry,
t-shirt comment.
Joseph says, "Hands up, no gun, no run, live for tomorrow."
Hands up, no run, no gun, live for. All right, that's a little long, but we'll play. We'll play with that. We'll play with that. I appreciate.
And also
that.
another way to support the show: Spotify podcast. We put this out there on Spotify. Please, 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 if you help us out on Facebook or pray for us, all of that is good. But if you can share the podcast through Spotify, and if you can take the link that we put out on the Facebook page and share that with friends and family, that goes a long way, because we can tell how many people are listening and downloading the podcast on Spotify. And we would really appreciate it if you could help us get those numbers up. Yeah,
we definitely appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hate to make the end of this thing a commercial, but the truth of the matter is we are trying to grow, and it is our goal to fight for freedom, to make sure that we can serve and fight for the Bill of Rights within the United States of America, to keep those intact. So in any way, shape, or form, you guys can help us do that. Please do so.
And the big wigs are noticing. People are noticing the show and the podcast. That's why we are. But
we need the numbers.
This is why we're trying to say, and we're really trying to pump this up, because you guys are helping out and you guys are doing the work. You guys are listening. You guys are commenting, and people are noticing. We just need to take it up to the next step, because if we want to go to the next step, we need you to help us get there.
All right. And all this time, you guys thought you were just tuning in for my beautiful face. No, we are. Some people actually see some talent out there. So anyway, but I'm going to get out of here unless there's any questions, comments, or concerns. All right, guys. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you all for tuning in. I appreciate you tuning in. Next week, I will be taking next Saturday off. There's somebody that I know that happens to be running a 10K. So I'm going to go and be a part of that. No, that is Betsy.
Well, thanks for supporting me, Carl.
So you're welcome. You're welcome.
In my race.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope you don't wear those spandex again. Oh. But anyway. Okay. So next week we will be off, but we will be uploading podcasts throughout the week. So make sure Spotify.com. We will be on other outlets growing the podcast as well this week. So stay tuned for that. God bless every single one of you. I love you all. Thank you for participating with me in this fight for freedom. And I sincerely mean that. It always makes me feel better knowing there's people out there listening. And I know there's some people that have the same fundamental beliefs that I have that want to save America. So God bless you all. Until next week, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.